Hello, beautiful besties. How are you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel, and welcome to a new reading vlog. Today's reading vlog, we are just going back to basics here. I am going to be reading 3 new to me fantasy romances. I'm very excited about them. I am really trying to stick to my end of year TBR, and all 3 of these books are on that TBR, so I'm very excited about that as well. And let's just get straight into it. So the first book that I'm going to be reading this week, I have already started, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA fantasy romance. I actually started this in October, and I'm just now picking it back up again. I'm excited to dive back in because so far I've really enjoyed this book. It definitely gives me the vibes of early Throne of Glass, Hunger Games, and The Red Queen, and I'm liking the mix of those elements. It follows our main character, Peyton. She lives in a world that was cursed by a plague, and when the plague was gone, some people were left with magical powers and some were not. And the king of this kingdom has decided that anyone who does not have magic, and they're called ordinaries, they must be banished or killed in the kingdom. They cannot exist. Only magical beings can. And you already know that our girl Peyton does not have any magic, but she has trained her whole life not only to protect herself, but to also convince people that she does have a little bit of magic so that she can pass by and just live her life. One day, she ends up inadvertently saving the life of one of the king's sons. His name is Kai. Kai's whole thing is he is known as the Enforcer. He goes around and hunts down ordinaries and anyone who is harboring ordinaries and either kills them or banishes them. So obviously these two just have very different outlooks on the whole thing and are pretty opposite from one another. But after having a very dangerous meet cute, they definitely seem intrigued by one another, and that intrigue only gets further solidified when Peyton gets nominated by her fellow townspeople to partake in these very deadly trials. So this is kind of where the Hunger Games element comes in. A bunch of people can participate in it, and it's essentially to show off their magical skills, and whoever is left standing at the end wins. And of course, because we know Peyton does not have magical powers, this is going to be very difficult for her, so she's absolutely the underdog, but she does have a lot of physical combat training, and we'll see how she does. What I have liked about this book so far is number one, it's dual POV. Thank God. I feel like having dual POV in a YA fantasy romance really helps with getting past that kind of service level YA fantasy writing style. I don't know, I just feel like it's rounding out the story a lot more, and because we do get Kai's POV, being in his head I think is really helpful to understand kind of the politics of the court, how his father acts, how he feels about it, and sort of just his view on the world. I think it just helps to kind of round things out a little bit, and I'm really enjoying that. And another thing that I'm really liking about this book is the banter is very cute, it's very fun. I'm just having a good time with this book. It's not by any means the most original plot line for sure, but I'm liking the writing style, and I feel like it's one of those books that you can just absolutely escape into and have fun with. So I am liking this a lot thus far. So right now I'm on page 125, and I'm excited to see what else happens. The next book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog is City of Fallen Angels. I am back on my Shadowhunters BS, and I'm having a lot of fun with this one. I also started it this morning. I am on page 104, so I think I'm like a quarter of the way into this, and being back in the Mortal Instruments world is a lot of fun. Coming off of reading The Infernal Devices, I can definitely see the writing style is a little bit different, and I do prefer the writing in The Infernal Devices, but this is just like a silly time. I'm having fun. We're in New York City. There's vampires, there's shadow hunters, there's angels, there's fairies. We're hunting down demons. It's just like very classic Cassandra Clare, so I am enjoying myself, and I'm excited to see where this series goes. We did wrap up some storylines in City of Glass, but now we have a whole new set of problems to deal with, so I'm looking forward to being with Jason Clary and Simon and the whole crew. Also, Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl is narrating this, so I am just getting the most like 2011, 2012 vibes, and I'm having fun. And the third book that I want to read this week is Bound and Barbed by Samantha R. Good. This is a new adult fantasy romance. I haven't started it yet, but to my understanding, we have a princess who is in an arranged marriage that she does not want to be in, so she flees her kingdom and ends up physically running into her fated mate. I believe that he is not what she thought that he would be, and he might be a little bit dangerous, but he does agree to protect her, and I think the two kind of become begrudging allies as things just kind of blow up in their kingdom. So I'm excited to start this. I have just been craving a classic KU fantasy romance, and I really hope that I end up liking this. I haven't heard too many people talk about this one, so I hope I enjoy it, and then I can tell you all to read it as well. So these are the reading plans this week. I'm very excited. I will be checking in with you guys along the way. As for today, it is Sunday, so I am going to spend the day just kind of doing like Sunday chores, doing laundry, cleaning up, and I will probably listen to the audiobook of City of Angels. So I will make sure to talk with you all soon when I have another reading update for you. Hello friends, I am checking in with you all just a few hours later. I cannot believe the turn of events that I've had today, but I have spent most of the day reading City of Fallen Angels because it is so good. Who was going to tell me that City of Fallen Angels is so good? It does still feel like early Mortal Instruments, but like the better version, the updated version. I don't know what it is, but when I first started it, I was like, okay, you know, we're back to classic Clary Jace shenanigans. I don't really know how I feel about this storyline, especially in comparison to the Amazing Infernal Devices. But the more that I am reading this, I am, one, obsessed with the plot. I think the plot is so much more interesting in what I suspect is going to be the entire half of the Mortal Instruments compared to what happened in the first 3 books. And I am loving the inclusion of the other characters. I feel like we have made the cast bigger. They've always been around, these other characters, but I just feel like they are so much more important now than they were earlier on. And I think that that helps a lot because I don't know if Clary is capable of carrying an entire book series on her own. That's just my opinion. So including these other characters a bit more, bringing them more to the forefront, making them more main characters is such a good choice. Like, this book is just so much fun, such high stakes, and I'm absolutely loving it. Like, I am shocked that I am liking this as much as I am, but I'm having a really great time and I have not been able to put it down. Chuck Bass is narrating the you know what out of this audiobook, and it has been such a fun listening experience. So I am literally only 100 pages away from the end of this book, and I'm so excited that I'm liking this as much as I am because I really want to get to the other series. I want to get to the Dark Artifices and I really want to get to the Last Hours, but I'm just trying to read all of the series in order since I do own them all. And I've kind of been like, is this just gonna be like a slow march until I can get out of the Mortal Instruments? But I am having so much fun reading this, so I'm really happy about that. Also, the Infernal Devices references in this book are so painful and beautiful at the same time. Like, I get so excited and then heartbroken as soon as anything gets brought up. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read the Infernal Devices, but oh my god, just, you know, things are being talked about, memories are being had. Like, I am really enjoying that aspect of this book as well, and it's just making for a much more gratifying reading experience than I ever expected. I truly thought that this was going to be kind of a chore to read and just kind of get through, maybe a fun chore every now and then, but for the most part a chore. This has been like way better than I thought it was going to be, so I'm really happy about that. I am excited by the latter half of this series. I'm excited by this plot. As I said, it's the last 100 pages, so you know things are about to get crazy. They've already been pretty crazy, honestly, but I've been thoroughly entertained. So I'm happy to report that. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for now. I just wanted to check in with you all before I finish the book and let you know how I'm feeling right now. I hope the ending does not disappoint. I'll probably talk to you guys tomorrow once I finish this and done a little bit more reading, but happy to say this is going super well. Hello my loves, happy Tuesday. I am here to give you guys some reading updates. So number 1, I finished City of Fallen Angels shortly after my last check-in, and it was so good. I had so much fun reading this book. The ending was crazy. I am so excited to start the next book in the series. I'm probably not going to do it until next year, which sounds very weird to say, but as I said at the beginning of this video, I really want to stick to my end of year TBR, but I am excited to continue on with the Mortal Instruments in the next few months. And this was just such a strong book and really just renewed like my enjoyment of the Mortal Instruments and my interest. Like, I really didn't know how I was going to feel. I really didn't know if I was going to care too much about what was happening in this series, but I fully do. I'm fully on board and I'm very excited. And I gave this book 4 stars. It was pure enjoyment and pure fun. And it kind of makes me sad that I didn't read this when it came out. I think it came out in 2011, and in 2011 I was 16, and just at that time in my life I wasn't reading that much, and I just know that I would have devoured this as a 16-year-old, but I still love YA. I really do. Adult fantasy of course is my favorite, but I think when a YA fantasy hits and is just fun and has like decent writing, I'm into it. So I'm happy to be reading this anyway. That's why I like to pick up a lot of these older YA fantasy series, because I feel a certain sort of FOMO that like I missed out on. I want to see what everyone's talking about and kind of be in on these really popular series that a lot of people my age were reading like when we were in high school. But I'm still really happy to be reading it now, and I'm excited to see what happens next. So after finishing City of Fallen Angels, I decided to pick up Bound and Barbed by Samantha R. Good. This is an adult fantasy romance, and I am so excited to report this is a vampire fantasy romance. I had no idea when I bought this book. I had no idea going into it that we were going to get that, but I'm so excited because a vampire fantasy romance is always a really good time time, and I feel like I'm just always looking for more of that. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I found that out. But in this book, we follow our main character, Eveline. Eveline's father died 2 years ago at the hands of a very evil type of vampire, and she has since been living with her aunt and uncle, who are just hell-bent on marrying her off for political gain and for financial gain. She really doesn't want to get married to anyone, and particularly anyone that her aunt or uncle pick out for her. So she has been stealing money from rich people that she sees around town and collecting sort of like a little savings account to try to escape. She also does give some of that money to an orphanage. So, you know, steal from the rich, give some of that money to an orphanage, and then keep some of it from yourself so you can escape your evil aunt and uncle. That is girl math, so I approve of it. And one day, while she is out kind of in the market, she ends up trying to steal a dagger from this man, and he seems to have like a ton of weapons. He seems very wealthy, and she's like, oh, he won't even notice, he won't even care. And as she attempts to steal this dagger, she realizes that she is stealing from a vampire, and these are the good kind of vampires. So in this world, there are two vampires. We have the Kova, who are the good guys, right? They're the nice ones. So like many things in life, I'm gonna relate this to Twilight, and the Kova are like the Cullens. A little bit different, but they are generally good, and they respect humans, and they do feed on humans, unlike the Cullens, but they get consent, and they make sure that they don't kill them or harm them or anything like that. So the Kova are like the Cullens, right? And that is who our love interest is. He's a Kova. And then we have the bad vampires. Bad vampires are Vasi, like the Volturi, and the Vasi are just, you know, blood-sucking demons, essentially. They torture humans while they drink from them. They kill them. They have absolutely no regard for humankind. And the Vasi kind of look at the Kova and are like, you're the same as us. You try to act all high and mighty, but at the end of the day, we're the same thing. So there's kind of that dynamic between these two. But getting back to my original point, when Eveline tries to steal from Maddox, who is our love interest, she realizes that he is a Kova, which she does know that Kova are generally the nicer vampires, but she is still very worried about what he's going to do. In Maddox's POV, this book is dual POV, which is very exciting, he realizes when he looks into Eveline's eyes that this is his mate, and he is so excited. He's like, oh my god, I've been waiting for my mate forever. Here she is. She's so beautiful. I'm so excited. But I believe humans don't have a mating bond, or like they don't quite understand it. So he doesn't tell Eveline that, hey, we're mates, but he does try his very best to just get to know her and form a friendship with her. After Eveline and Maddox spend some time getting to know each other over the days and start up a little flirtatious friendship, it is revealed Eveline's aunt and uncle have arranged a marriage for her, and it is from an absolutely disgusting person. After finding out that she is going to be wed to this awful person, she does enlist the help of Maddox to help her train even more. She has trained a lot her whole life, but she's asking Maddox to help her out even more. She doesn't tell him why, but he's more than happy to help because he just wants to spend as much time as possible around her. So that is where I'm at in the book right now. So I'm on chapter 27. I'm reading this on my Kindle because I don't like tall paperbacks like this. I just don't find them very nice to hold. So I'm reading it on my Kindle, and I think if I end up loving this book, I'm gonna replace it with a hardcover and then buy the next book in hardcover as well, because the second book is out. Okay, so I did just start chapter 27, so I'm on page 181, and maybe not quite halfway, but maybe like a third of the way done with this book. But so far, I am enjoying myself. I do have one kind of thing that I'm not loving, and I'll be curious to see how this plays out. And that is Maddox is just obsessed with Eveline. He loves her. He's like, this is my mate. I'm so excited. I can't believe I met her. Eveline is not like, obviously she's not aware of the mating bond, so she's not like, I'm ready to get married, but she does like find him very attractive and they're flirtatious, but she's kind of like, I can never be with him because I just need to focus on escaping my aunt and uncle. So as far as the tension goes, there is tension, but it's not the good kind. Like for me, the good kind of tension is, sure, there's an attraction, but there are, you know, conflicts between them. So there is lacking a little bit of that romantic buildup in that way. I want us to be able to have a chance to go on a journey of not knowing one another, maybe not trusting one another, and, you know, maybe turning some type of dislike into falling for each other, especially when it comes to that fated mates trope. But in this situation, we're not quite getting that. It is pretty just like friendly right off the bat. So that is one thing that I'm not in love with. But I think that one of the strong points of this book is the plot. I actually think that the plot is really interesting, and I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, because so much of the romance has kind of lost some of its steam as far as like progression and as far as like build up. They're definitely not like romantic with each other in any way. They haven't like done anything, but I can just kind of see the writing on the wall that like so far it's been very easy for the two of them to be around each other, and they're just very cute, which is great, but it's not my type of fan row. I'm not like completely uninterested in the romance at this point. I do like these characters, but I am just a little bit disappointed. I wish that there was a little like spicy, you know, banter between them at this point. But, you know, it's okay. So I'll just kind of see where things are going with this book. But I do like where things are at, and I do think the world, and as I said, that like vampire conflict could be really intriguing. So I'm just gonna keep reading and see what I think, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Hello, beautiful friends, how are we? It has been a couple of days since I have checked in with this reading vlog, but I do have quite a few updates for you all. So number one, I just wanted to talk about in the B-roll, you guys saw that we put up some of our Christmas decorations, and I'm just so excited for Christmas. I love this time of year so much. Summer is my absolute favorite time of year, but Christmas is a very close second. I can't wait. I've also gotten some Christmas romances in the mail, and I'm really excited to read all of the cheesy Hallmark-esque Christmas romances in December. So just feeling very festive at the moment. We don't have a tree up yet because we do get a real tree, and if we get it now it will be crispy and most of the pine needles will be on the floor by the time December 25th rolls around. So I think we're gonna try to get a tree maybe like the first week of December. Of course I will show you guys that when it is up, but oh, I just cannot wait for my Christmas tree to be up, and just yeah, all the good Christmassy vibes. And since we last talked, I did film and post my bookshelf tour. I ended up having to film that twice, which was very, very exhausting, but it was because of my own stupidity. I filmed the bookshelf tour and I forgot to turn my mic around, because when I film a bookshelf tour, I am behind the camera, and I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I didn't. And I filmed the entire bookshelf tour, which took about like 2.5 hours. The mic was facing away from me, so you could barely hear me. And so I had to refilm the whole thing. I love my brain so much. So I have been like just trying to fit in reading here and there where I can, but I ended up finishing a book and then getting farther in another. So I do have reading updates for you all. So let's get into them. So number one, I did finish Bound and Barbed. I ended up flying through this pretty quickly the other day, and overall I feel good about this book. There are a few things that I wish we got to see more of, and kind of some plot development things that I wish happened, but the romance itself, while it's not my favorite, as I explained in the earlier clip, you know, I don't love that dynamic. We did get to see our characters in a lot of different situations together. We got to see them bonding. We got to see a little bit of their friendship develop, which I appreciated. And our female main character, she did take a little bit more warming up to our male main character than he did, so that was enjoyable. I would say like overall it's a pretty decent romance. It's not something that I am going to be obsessing over, but I definitely think that it was cute, and I'm glad that we did get to at least see them doing things and getting to know one another, and not just like, oh my god, I love you, and then okay, cool, we're mates, book over type of thing, you know? But one thing that I didn't quite expect from this book, from the way that it started, and I was a little bit disappointed with, was I thought that we set up this book to have a really interesting plot, and not a lot happened in this book until like the last like 20%. And what happened at the end, you know, what happened in that last 20% was engaging and interesting and like really cool, but I don't know, I feel like there's so much here that we could have expanded on. I would have loved to see more of the dynamic of the vampires. They're not like officially vampires, but you know, vampire-esque beings. And I would have liked to see more of that. And I definitely think I would have liked to see our main character Eveline like doing a little bit more. I definitely feel like we were set up to maybe have more interesting things happening throughout the book, but really it was just a lot of like romance relationship things happening throughout the book. And then at the end we did get a lot more action. So not my like favorite plot structure. And then the only like egregious thing that happens is our main character Eveline does something just so stupid at the end of the book, and I was just like, girl, like how am I supposed to root for you when you do things like this? But overall, it sounds like I didn't enjoy the book, but I have to say, thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this. I'm being a little bit critical because I want you guys to know when you're going into this book what to expect. And if you are interested in this book, I do think you should read it because I enjoyed my time reading it. I am critical of some things, but I still did enjoy it. I gave this book a 3.5-star rating. I am going to pick up the second book, Made and Marred. I am curious to see what's going to happen because the ending, while kind of kicked off by our female main character doing something a little bit dumb, I think we do have potential for a pretty interesting second book, and maybe we will get more of that plot development. I just want to know more. I feel like there is such an interesting world here, and I don't feel like we discovered it enough in this book, so I hope to see more of that. And I'm also feeling like there is going to be a bit of a chosen one trope coming forward, which is just like an all-time S tier trope. So I did enjoy Bound and Barbed. I thought that it was a fun time. It does have, you know, a few quirks, but I'm excited to see what happens in book 2. Okay, and then next up, I do have an update for Powerless. I am 61% of the way through this book, and I am not loving the way this book is going, you guys. I'm so, maybe I'm like too optimistic. That might be my problem. I need to be more pessimistic apparently, because you know, I started this book out and I thought it was cute. I was like, okay, we have a lot of good things, you know, to work with here. It's fun. It's not gonna change my life. It's not gonna be this mind-blowing whatever. I knew that going in, but I was like, this could be a lot of fun. And I'm just not having that much fun anymore reading this book. So I just, yeah, the way that things have developed have been disappointing to me. So a couple of my main issues that in the beginning of the book, I enjoyed these factors, but I don't think that they have been well developed thus far. Number one is probably the dynamic between Kai and Peyton. Those are our love interests. Those are our two main characters. In the beginning of the book, we have this interesting setup. We have Kai, who is the enforcer. He's the son of the king. His whole job, his whole thing is hunting down ordinaries, either exiling them or killing them, and just, you know, following through with his father's ideals and the kingdom's ideals and all of that. And then we have Peyton, who is this ordinary, and she has to live in secret, and she is also an orphan, and she lives on the street, and she's had this really rough life, but she has made it through by being a survivor, by being tough, by being smarter than everyone else. And the two of them meet, they have this chance encounter, they are intrigued by one another, and I loved all of that. I love the juxtaposition of the characters. I like that they are so opposites. I like that they just come from different worlds. I think that that is a great setup, and they had some banter, there was some fun between them, and I really liked that. However, once Peyton goes to the castle to participate in the trials, because everyone who's participating in the trials does have to live in the castle, Kai and Peyton become so uninteresting. There is no relationship development happening at all. It is just them super into each other. Every single line out of Kai's mouth is some like one-liner, pickup line, flirty, like it's too much. It's like way too much. They aren't like well-rounded characters at this point, especially Kai, and there's just absolutely no development between them. It is just like they end up living in the same place in the castle, and they're not fun to read about anymore for me, because they're just so like into each other, and it's very a lust-forward situation in a YA, you know, way, but still, it's just, I really would have like preferred if maybe Kai was like trepidatious of Peyton when she came in, if he was like suspicious of her or whatever, but then started to fall for her. I feel like that could have been a way better dynamic, but I want to, you know, meet the book where it's at, and I am just not liking the way that the romance has been developed. I just think that it is not fun really anymore, because there's no like enemies to lovers, there's no tension, there's no buildup, there's no development, there's no getting to know each other, and then those feelings get stronger. The feelings are strong like right away, and I'm not really finding them interesting. And then my second thing is the trials. I am truly at this point, like, I still don't really understand why the trials are put on. Why are they happening? Why is this a thing? I don't get it, and I feel like we had a little bit of world building in the beginning of the book, and then that is just like gone, and the trials have started, and I don't really get the purpose of them. You know, I want to know the reason. What is the motivation behind this crazy set of trials that you force these people to be a part of? And I also think the fact that Peyton was kind of put up for this, I guess like nominated by her townspeople, the fact that she's so like, I don't know, she doesn't really have like a huge reaction to it, she just kind of goes along with it, and then her being an ordinary in this trial setting that is meant to be made up of all these magical people competing in the trials, her being that underdog, that could create a lot of conflict, which I think could be really interesting, and like that's not really happening either. I feel like we should see more of her like trying to deal with, oh my god, I'm not actually magical and people don't know and I have to cover myself. I don't feel like that's being focused on enough. I don't know. Essentially my problem is there's like a lot of half-baked concepts here that are not getting like fully developed that I am disappointed by. Honestly, I am at this point. So I thought that this book had a strong start, but I think it quickly just, it's not doing it for me. I wish that the romance was better developed. I wish that the plot was more interesting. A lot of things that just this book is so far like disappointing me. So I don't know how I feel about it, but I am planning to finish this book today. As I said, I'm 61% of the way through, so I only have a little bit left. Maybe we'll have a cool ending. Maybe things will, you know, pick up towards the end, but I want more development in every aspect of the book, and that's where I'm at. So a little bit sad about that, but optimistic about the ending, even though earlier I said maybe I should stop being optimistic, but I can't help it. It's in my nature. So I'm gonna keep reading Powerless. I am going to finish this today, so I will be talking to you guys in a few hours once I am done, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Hey guys, so it is just a few hours later. Sorry for the lack of B-roll, but genuinely I did not do anything other than get ready, worked a little bit, listened to this audiobook, and now I'm here. So nothing pretty or interesting to show you in between these clips. However, I am here to give you guys a final update on Powerless, as I did finish it, and I wouldn't say that I have like conflicting feelings. I feel pretty resolute in what I think of this book, but there's a little asterisk next to that because I'll explain. Overall, I feel like for the rest of the book, while we did get some action, you know, kind of towards the end, that was interesting, I still feel like so many things are undeveloped. I feel like I still have a lot of questions. I just feel like we have some good ideas here, we have some good building blocks, but I just don't really like the execution. And honestly, I was just like getting bored after a while and really ready for this book to end. I would just say overall, I didn't super enjoy it. In the beginning, I was excited and hopeful. Then things really started going off and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. I don't think that the romance is going well. I have too many questions about the world building and the magic system and all of that. And then I just don't really feel like those things were done in a way that I found to be like gratifying. So I think that I walk away from this book kind of just like not really liking it, but I will just say that I did like the ending of this book. So it makes it hard to give this book a rating when there is an interesting cliffhanger. I love cliffhangers. I know so many people hate them. I just like love the excitement of a really crazy cliffhanger and knowing that you have like another book to look forward to and anticipate. I love anticipating new releases, but when you didn't like the majority of the book, that creates a problem. So to be honest with you guys, I am giving this book a 2-star rating because overall, I just don't really think this book was successful. It didn't set out what I needed it to do, and I think kind of my expectations for where things were going to go after a pretty strong start, I don't think were achieved. So I'm giving it 2 stars because for me, a 2-star rating is overall, I didn't really like the book, but there might be 1 or 2 things that I was like, okay, here's some redeeming qualities. And the ending was fun. I will be curious to see how people react to the sequel of this book when it comes out. I will definitely not be running out to pick it up, but I did find it to be interesting and definitely I think could open up some doors for maybe the dynamic of some characters to be like a little bit more entertaining. And if that's the case, maybe I will be picking up the next book. I don't know. No promises, but so many people love this book, you guys. So I would say that if you are interested in that Red Queen, Hunger Games-esque type of book, maybe still give it a shot. I just don't think it did what I thought it was going to do, and I just don't think that we successfully achieved some of the things that I think are necessary for a story to feel full. And I forget if I touched on this in my last check-in, but this book was very trope heavy, and I feel like the amount of tropes that were put in and focusing on the tropes kind of weakened the storyline, and I feel like maybe we sacrificed some good storytelling here just to achieve those tropes, which is unfortunate because I really do think that there is something interesting here, but I just don't think it was executed well. So overall, not a very successful read for me, but that ending, I will give you that. All right, so that is going to be it for this week's reading vlog. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I'm going to continue to work my way through my end of year TBR. Hopefully I can complete it. Probably won't, but we'll give it a try. If you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave a snowman emoji. Please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.